reminder, please do not start your own recording of the session. So that actually causes some logistical problems for us. It will actually stop our recording of this session and not allow me to access the rest of the session's recording. So we had an issue with that last time. So what we're going to do is record this entire session and post the session recording on YouTube after the event. And so if you're unable to stay for the whole session, or maybe you have a friend who also wanted to see the session but wasn't able to attend in real time, they'll be able to access it afterwards. So we're recording the session on purpose. And so if you try to start your own recording, it causes an issue for us and we're unable to then finish our recording. So we just politely request that you do not try to start your own recording because that causes some problems. Please keep your camera and microphone turned off during the actual presentation while our guest speaker is speaking. That is just some politeness for our speaker so she is able to get through her presentation. At the end, we'll give you access to turn on your camera and your microphone and the chat session, the chat function in the Q&A, so you'll be able to ask her questions if your question didn't already get answered during her actual presentation. If you need extra language support, though, there is closed captioning available. So I have a little screenshot. At the top of your screen, you'll see 3 dots. You can click on that and you'll see a closed captioning option that you can turn on. So if you want English captions or captions in a different language posted on your screen, you can have that as an option. And so you'll be able to choose that. So if you want extra language support throughout the program, you can choose that as an option for your own personal choice during the session. And like I said, we'll be answering questions at the end of the session. And so that's when I will turn on the camera, microphone, and Q&A function for you to be able to ask those questions. Okay, so then without further ado, I'm going to introduce our presenter. Next slide, please, Flower. So today we have Lisa Davis, and Lisa Davis is coming to us from the Bursar office, here to talk to you about everyone's favorite topic, paying your tuition and fees. Thank you so much for joining us, Lisa.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Lisa Davis. I am the supervisor of student accounts in the Bursar office. And on behalf of our whole team in the Bursar office, we would like to welcome you to UT Dallas. I just have some contact information listed here, our Bursar contact. Our phone number, email, you can call us during our office hours. We are open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and then we are open on Fridays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That would be Central Standard Time for U.S. time. So some of the information that I'm going to give you today, we know that there's a lot of information as a brand new student to UT Dallas that you're receiving. So my goal in this presentation is to just help you navigate through some of the information as it relates to the Bursar office and how we can assist you. And we have about 15 staff members that can assist you. We also do have student employees that can assist. So we do have a variety of people there to answer your phone calls and emails. Currently, our offices are closed for in-person assistance. We may be open again in the fall semester starting in August. We have not been updated on that, but right now we are not open for in-person assistance. That information will be updated on our website when our offices are back to in-person assistance. But the office hours I gave you we are available for phone calls and for emails. Next slide, please. So some of the functions of our office include assessing, billing, and collecting on all tuition and fees, collecting on housing charges, collecting on meal plan charges. We can answer questions regarding your billing statement. We implement what's called the payment and refund schedule. And we also maintain online services through EasyPay. and we also process refunds. So what is the difference between assessing, billing, and collecting on tuition and fees as opposed to just collecting on housing and meal plan charges? Basically, that just means that if you call our office and you ask us, I'm taking 9 hours, I'm being charged this amount. Can you please tell me why I'm being charged this amount for those 9 hours? What are those charges for? We're going to be able to look at that, figure out if your charges are correct, how you're being charged, why you're being charged that amount for your tuition and basic fees. If you call us and you ask us, you know, I'm being charged this amount for my on-campus housing. Can you tell me if this is correct? We're more than likely going to be sending you to the housing office. Same with the meal plan charges, because those are both based on contracts that you sign with those departments. So the on-campus housing and the meal plan charges are not handled in our office, but they will show up on our bill. We can see a lot of charges that come from other offices. So if you have a question about anything you see on your bill, you can always email us, give us a call. We will be able to tell you where to go to find out if that information is correct. We may not be able to tell you why it's there, but we will be able to tell you, hey, this is on your bill. You need to contact this office, or here's your tuition. This is correct. It looks like it's correct based on the number of hours you're taking. We're going to go ahead and go through some of the rest of it later on in the slides, but I did want to explain the difference between just the fees, the assessing, billing, and collecting, and then just the collecting on some other fees. You can go ahead and move to the next slide, please. So all new incoming students to UT Dallas will have the opportunity to choose between 2 tuition plan rates. Now, I know this can be a little bit confusing for students sometimes, because some universities charge what's called a per credit hour rate, which means they're just being charged a certain amount per credit hour. So for example, if a student is enrolled in 10 credit hours and the cost is $500 per credit hour, then that would be $5,000, and so on. So if you're in 6 hours, 500, $3,000. So it's just it's a certain amount per credit hour, no matter how many credit hours you take. Well, UT Dallas uses what's called tuition plans. And the tuition plan, to explain that the best way that I know how, is that it's just a set rate for a specific number of hours. So if you're in 10 hours, you would look at our chart and you would say, I'm in 10 hours, this is how much I should be charged for 10 hours. I'm in 12 hours, this is how much I should be charged for 12 hours. If you take the 12 hours and divide it into the tuition rate, you're not going to get the same per credit hour rate as you go up. The more credit hours you take, the cheaper each credit hour becomes. So it can be a little bit confusing as new students are coming in. So our tuition plans that we have is called the variable tuition plan. And that one is basically based on a traditional plan that only locks your rate in for 1 year. So it's good for fall, spring, and summer. And then the following fall semester, a new variable plan would be activated. So all new incoming students would be placed on this plan. The rates on the variable plan are subject to change each year. Then we have another plan that's called the guaranteed tuition plan. And the guaranteed tuition plan actually takes the rate and it locks it in for 4 consecutive years. This is to protect students against rate increases that happen each year. So whatever you pay your very first semester that you're at UT Dallas, 3 semesters later, you're going to pay the same rate for that same amount of hours that you're in. So the rate will be locked in for 16 semesters if you include the summer. So it's 4 consecutive years. Once that plan expires after the 4 years, so let's say you're here longer than 4 years, or you're going into another program later on, maybe a graduate program if you're coming in as an undergraduate and then you're going into a graduate program. If that plan expires after 4 years, then you would be defaulted into the next active plan. So for this coming year, if you're on the 2021-2022 plan, after 4 years, your plan would go to the 2022-2023 plan. It would save you 4 years worth of rate increases. Some students, ask me, how do I know which plan works for me? Think about how long you plan to attend UT Dallas, because I will tell you that the variable tuition plan, because it does change every year, it does start out somewhat cheaper than the guaranteed plan. So you'll look at the rates. Those rates are available online. We do have a comparison out online that you can, and you can also view the actual plan online. So you can compare the specific rate for the number of hours that you plan to attend. You can look at those actual charts and see how much you would pay. Again, you'll notice that it does start out a little bit cheaper on the variable plan, but again, it does protect from rate increases each year. And that can increase from about 3 to 6% every year. We can't tell you exactly how much it's gonna increase, but we do know it's somewhere between 3 and 6%. So you do have to choose a plan. If no tuition plan choice is made by August the 12th for our incoming fall students, you will automatically remain on the variable tuition plan. So again, we're going to place everybody on the variable tuition plan. If you would like to be in the guaranteed tuition plan, then you need to opt into that. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So how do you select your tuition plan? When you log into your Orion account, you're going to see a to-do list item, and you're also going to see a service indicator, which is also known as a hold on your account. And you're going to click on that to-do list item in your task tile in the Student Center. And then it's also going to say make a one-time choice. And once you click on make a one-time choice, because again, this is a one-time choice right when you enter the university. It's just for that very first semester that you enter UT Dallas. You're going to see the option to choose I choose the variable tuition plan, or I choose the guaranteed tuition plan. Once you make your selection, then all the service indicator, the to-do list item, all of that will be removed from your account. Again, if no active decision is made, we'll go ahead and remove that hold from your account, but you will remain on the variable tuition plan. And again, this is that one-time selection. You can go ahead and move forward. And this is just an example of the tuition plan. Actually, this is the variable tuition plan for the 2021-2022 semester. I know when you first glance at it, it just looks like a bunch of numbers. But if you look at it, the first section is the credit hours that you would take. If you're looking at your screen, I guess it would be on your left-hand side. And so you would find which category do you fall in? Are you a resident or a non-resident, which most of you are going to be non-resident students. Are you a graduate or an undergraduate? And you would find that category at the top. So let's just say we're looking at non-resident graduate. It would be the furthest one on the right-hand side. You would go down to the number of credit hours you were going to take. So let's just say 9 credit hours. And you would scroll over all the way to the fall, spring, summer. Most of everything's going to fall in that first section, which is the fall, spring, and 11-week session for summer. And then you would just look there and you would say, okay, this is how much I'm going to be charged. So that's just an example. Again, the guaranteed and the variable are both out on our website for you to make comparisons, the difference in the charges. So you can go ahead and move forward with the slide, please.
And Lisa,
yes.
Just to clarify, when you say resident and non-resident, you mean
yes.
resident or non-resident of the state of Texas, correct?
That is correct. Non-resident of the state of Texas, yes. Thank you for clarifying that, Katie. Yes, some students get confused because they think, okay, non-resident means I am a non-resident of the U.S., and that's not what that means. That actually means that you are a non-resident of the state of Texas. So you're going to be charged the same rate that somebody that lived in California is going to be charged, or in Virginia, because they're not a resident of Texas. So when I say resident, that's a resident of Texas. So I know sometimes students will need a tuition estimate. Maybe they're going to get a lender, or they're going to have a donor that's going to pay part of their tuition, and they may need to know what that tuition is. Well, our tuition is not actually calculated until approximately 6 to 8 weeks prior to the beginning of each semester. So sometimes the students need to be able to secure their funding before that 6 weeks or 8 weeks comes. For this coming fall semester, our tuition calculation is going to begin on July the 6th. And so we will send notifications out that the billing statements are ready. So sometimes a student may need their information prior to that date. So we do have what's called tuition estimates that a student can get. So if it's prior to our tuition calculation, you can actually log into your Orion portal, and then you can navigate to the student center and then bursar account and then tuition estimate. So you could get that prior to, so if you're going to take 10 hours, you could put 10 hours and it's going to estimate. Again, it's just an estimate, but it would give you a good idea of how much funding you're going to need, or it would give your donor how much a good idea of how much funding you're going to need for that. And then again, once our billing statements are ready, you can actually pull that up in your student account in the Student Service Center under bursar account and then account statement. And you can also view your information in Easy Pay, which we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. Did you have something to add, Katie? Oh. Okay, so if you go ahead and move forward.
Lisa, if I may just add, just for clarification for our students, could you explain a little bit about the number of credits in terms of one course that is usually 3 to 4 credits, so they can visualize the topic of credit hours?
So most of our credit, if I'm understanding the clarification that you're wanting, most of our credit classes are about 3 credit hours. So a student who was going to take 3 classes probably is going to be about 9 credit hours. If you're taking a class that has a lab, that may be an additional 1 credit hour. So it may be a 3-hour class for a science class, and then you may have a 1 credit hour lab. So that would be a 4-hour course for that class. So if you're a graduate student, a full-time graduate student is considered 9 credit hours, and then a full-time undergraduate student is considered 12 credit hours. So did that clarify?
You, Lisa. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So if you're going to be receiving a scholarship at the university, I do know that sometimes, students will receive a scholarship, a competitive scholarship from the university. Not sometimes, very often they do. So all of the university scholarships will be applied directly to the student account. So if you received a scholarship, you're not going to expect that money is going to be funded directly to you. That would be funded directly to your student account. If you receive a scholarship that's $1,000 or more, you would actually qualify for the resident tuition rate. And so the way that's going to work is that a separate credit will be posted to your student account that will waive the difference between the resident tuition and the non-resident tuition. So as a non-resident student, I'm going to make it very simple here. Let's say you're charged $10,000 as a non-resident student, and you receive a $1,000 scholarship from the university. We're going to put a credit on your account. So you're going to see the tuition is going to show $10,000, right? Because that's our example. And then you're going to see what's called a waiver, or it's going to show up as a waiver. It's going to have the word waiver inside of it. And it's going to be the difference between the resident and the non-resident rate. So let's say the resident rate is $6,000. Well, then you're going to see a credit for $4,000 as a waiver on your account. So you're still going to, your tuition line is still going to show your non-resident rate. I do know that can be confusing because students see their tuition line and they'll say, this is what I'm being charged in tuition. But if you look at your statement, and if you ever have a question about what your statement looks like, you can always contact us. We're more than happy to explain, what you're seeing on your statement. But you will see a tuition line that will be your tuition, and then you'll see a line that says waiver, and that would be the difference. So you would see a $4,000 waiver, and then your tuition would be $6,000. Again, that's a very simple example that I gave you. Your statement, unfortunately, is probably not going to be that simple to understand, but again, just to make it simple as an example, that's the one I gave. So you'll see $10,000 minus your $4,000 waiver, and then your tuition $6,000. So again, if you're expecting a $1,000 scholarship, please watch for that waiver to be added to your account. All scholarship recipients will receive an extended payment deadline. So we'll be going over our payment and refund calendar, what our payment deadlines are, but students who are on that scholarship will receive an extended payment deadline. They would follow the financial aid deadline. Scholarship recipients are expected to check their Easy Pay account to verify that the scholarship has posted by the deadline. So if we're giving you that extended deadline and you're just assuming that the scholarship has been applied, it is your responsibility to keep an eye on your account, on your statement, or check with your check with our financial aid office or the department who's giving you the scholarship. All of the scholarships will go through our financial aid office. So if you're receiving it from your department, so let's say you're in JSOM and they're giving you $1,000 scholarship, well, they would let the financial aid office know that this student is receiving $1,000 scholarship, and then financial aid would be the one who would actually apply the scholarship and the waiver to the account. So if you're wondering, why is this not on there, you definitely want to check on that, especially if it's getting close to the deadline. Payment is expected to be made after the scholarship and waiver has posted. So again, please check with your department or financial aid if you don't see that a few days before the deadline. Go ahead and move forward, please. So what is our payment and refund calendar? I know you've heard me mention that a few times. So the payment and refund calendar is a calendar that we post online. It's actually part of our academic calendar. So if you're familiar with the academic calendar, which is dates that you can start registering, dates that classes start, things like that, it's actually the second page of the academic calendar. So what you're going to find on that payment and refund calendar, you're going to find the estimated dates for the billing statements each semester. You're going to find our payment deadlines that are very important. You're also going to find information about late payment fees, payment plan options and due dates. So we do have payment plans that we offer. And you're also going to see the refund schedule for dropping a course or withdrawing from the university. So there could be financial obligations if you drop a class or you withdraw from the university. So it's very important that you either contact us, look at that calendar before you make decisions about dropping or withdrawing. And I do believe I have a slide on here about that here in just a second. If not, I can go over some more of that in a little while. So for the fall 2021 semester, the regular registration payment deadline is August the 19th. So if you are not receiving a scholarship, you are not receiving financial aid from the university, you're receiving no aid from the university, this would be your payment deadline, August the 19th. Again, this is stated on our payment and refund calendar. So I'm giving you this date during the orientation right now, but next semester in the spring, in the following semester in the spring, nobody's really going to be there to tell you, so it's going to be your responsibility. Yes, we're going to send out all kinds of reminders, but if you want to know, it would be your responsibility to go look at that. Again, we will send you notifications, billing statements, it'll have dates on it. We'll start when the payment deadline comes close, we're going to start sending you notifications. So you will get information from us, but you're not going to have somebody that's specifically going to hand you the calendar and say, hey, take a look at the calendar, here's the dates. We do ask that you take a few minutes each semester once we post those calendars to kind of look and see when the deadlines are, because most students will go on there anyway to see when classes start, when they can start registering and things like that. So if you could just flip on over to that second page of the academic calendar and look at our payment deadlines, that would kind of give you an idea so you're not shocked when you see the payment deadline dates. And then if you are receiving financial aid, if you're receiving that scholarship from the university or any kind of financial aid, any type of private loan that you have applied for through the U.S. I do know there are some private lenders. You would have to contact financial aid in regards to that information to see who those lenders are and more information about a private loan. But there are some lenders that do lend to international students. So if you're receiving a loan through the financial aid office, that's a private loan, you would also get that extended deadline. And for this coming semester in the fall, it's September 2nd. That's the deadline for our financial aid recipients. Now, we'll tell you, when you do look at the payment and refund calendar every semester, you're actually going to see 3 deadlines. You're going to see the early payment deadline, and then you're going to see the regular registration deadline, and then you're going to see the financial aid deadline. All new students do not need to pay attention to the early payment deadline. Most of our students are going to follow the regular registration deadline or the financial aid deadline. Possibly in the future, you may have to follow that, but most of the time you're going to normally follow the regular registration deadline or the financial aid deadline. And if you think you're supposed to be receiving the deadline, please make sure, check with us, check with the financial aid office. If you're receiving that scholarship, you think you should have the extended deadline and you're receiving notifications from our office telling you that your deadline is on August 19th. Check with the financial aid office, find out why there has not been an extended deadline given. You can go ahead and move on to the next slide. So I have mentioned Easy Pay. So what is Easy Pay? Easy Pay is our payment portal online. There are various things that you can actually do through our Easy Pay portal. You can make your payment online. You can view your billing statement, just like as I had mentioned earlier. Not only can you view it through your Orion portal, but you can also view it through your Easy Pay. You can set up a direct deposit, and I'll kind of explain what that is. Direct deposit is basically if the university owes you funding for any reason. There's various reasons that we could owe money back to a student, dropping a class, maybe you got 100% back for that class because you did it before you dropped it before the deadline, or you get financial aid loan and maybe it paid everything on your account and then we owe you some of it paid in excess, so we owe you some money back. So the direct deposit would be to set that up so it could go to a U.S. bank account. So if you come in and you set up a U.S. bank account, you could actually attach that to the Easy Pay, and the money would go directly into that account instead of a check being mailed, which can take 2 weeks. And if you don't have your correct address, a local address, it won't be sent. So it's very important that some of those things get updated in our system if you're expecting to receive any kind of mail from us, from our office. Again, direct deposit would prevent a check from going out. It could go directly into your U.S. bank account, and our office can give you more information about that if you have a question when you get ready to set that up. You can also add an authorized user, which I feel is important for most students to do if they have someone that is going to be either paying on their behalf or needs to view their billing statement. So if you have someone that needs to look at your statement or they want to make a payment on your behalf, we do not suggest, in fact, we ask that you do not give out your username and your user ID to anyone else. Because if they have your username for your Easy Pay account to go view your information in Easy Pay, they also have your username and your password to get into your Orion account, to your transcripts, to your classes. So please do not give anyone your login information. If you have someone that wants to go on, or you're going to allow them to go on and look at your statements and pay your bill, set them up as an authorized user. All they need is an email address. So you would go in, click on Add Authorized User, and then it would ask you for their email address, and then they would get an email, and then they would go on and set up their own user ID and their own password, so they wouldn't have to use yours. And then also you can set up the installment plan in Easy Pay, and that is one of our payment plans that I will be going over. So we can go ahead and move on. So what are the payment methods that you can find in Easy Pay? So you can use a credit card in Easy Pay. We do not accept Visa. It's just MasterCard, American Express, and Discover cards. There is a fee to use a credit card, but it is the only place that we do take credit cards. So if you are making a payment with a credit card for your tuition, you need to do that in Easy Pay. We will not, even when our offices are open at the front window, we will not accept credit cards for your tuition payment. You can also use an electronic check. So if you do have a U.S. bank account, you could use that. You could put the money into that bank account, and then you could go on to Easy Pay and you could put in your routing number and your checking account number, and you could do that for no fee. So even if you're using a debit card, so let's say you have a bank account and you get a U.S. bank account and they give you a debit card and it has that Visa, or I mean, sorry, not Visa, MasterCard or American, or we'll say MasterCard logo on the bank card. If you use that, even if it's coming from a checking account and it's not actually a credit card, it's just, from your bank account, it's still going to charge you that 1.9 convenience fee. So it's very important that if you're trying to have it come from a bank account and not actually, using a credit card, then you want to use that electronic check by using your routing number and your checking account number. And again, you can always contact us if you're making that payment and you don't know which one's the routing number, you're not sure what your account number is. We could assist you. And then again, when we're open in person, we do have computers up in the front that somebody can actually come over there and help you look up that information and help you put the correct information in for the electronic check. Again, I did mention this, that we're not open for in-person assistance currently, but again, that does not mean that we will not be open starting in the fall. We will update you later, but we do have a drop box next to the bursar office. So if you have a cashier's check or some type of money order or some type of paper funding that you're sending, so if you're bringing maybe a demand draft or something like that, then you could actually put that in that drop box, and that's a secure drop box that we check every day. We'll check that. So it should be posted to the account. If you drop it in there, it should be posted to the account within about 24 to 48 hours, depending on when you drop it off. So that is a secure Dropbox if you have something that you need to bring to our office. So even if you have something that you need to drop off to our office, it's some kind of paperwork that we've requested and you don't want to send it through email, you could always drop that off. If you're on campus, you could actually drop that off at our office if we're not open. Again, payments by demand draft can be mailed as well. Please give it at least 3 weeks because the mail does go to a central office, and then that mail has to get to our office once it's, divided up to where it goes. So it's really important that you allow time if you're going to be sending something to our office. I know, sometimes we get calls from students and they say, oh, I just now mailed it. The payment deadline's tomorrow. And, we're telling them, well, you need to give a little bit more time. We may be able to do something for you. We may not be able to do something for you, because when those deadlines are coming, it's very important that you know that if you don't pay, that you could be dropped for non-payment, and you will get notifications. Well, like I said, we'll send you a lot of emails. So it's very important to check your university email, because we do have students who forget to check their university email, and they say, well, I didn't know. And we say, but we emailed you, and we emailed you, and we emailed you, and almost to the point of harassment, which we don't want to harass you ever. But sometimes we get comments like, I know, you've emailed me 50 million times. No, not really. It's not that many times, but it does feel like it sometimes to the students, because we just want you, we really are just wanting to make sure that you're informed on what's going on. We don't ever want somebody to come back and say, well, the bursar office didn't tell me this, or the bursar, I tried to find out, but nobody would tell me. And we just want to make sure that our students are well informed on what's going on their account, and what, when the due dates are, and what's going to happen, and what the consequences could be if you don't make those payments by the deadline. And again, here's our address. So if you have to mail us something, our address is there on the screen. You can go ahead and move forward, please. So we do have quite a few students who like to do international wires. So UT Dallas has partnered with a company called Flywire for our international payments. Through this partnership, our office is able to verify a payment is being made for that specific student, and there is no fee associated with using Flywire. So I do know that sometimes our students will call or email and say, hey, I'm going to send in a wire to your office. Can you please give me your banking information? And of course, if you call us, we're not going to give you our banking information. We're not going to give you, if you email us, we're not going to give you our banking information. We're going to tell you that you need to go through Flywire for all international wires. And the steps for that, we do have that posted out on our website, but you can do that through your Orion student account. So you would log into your Galaxy, you would navigate to your student center. There is a payment option that says Flywire, and then once you click on that, it will actually redirect you to their website. So this isn't a mistake. Sometimes students get concerned because, we're always telling people, be careful on what link you're going to on the internet, because it could corrupt your computer, or, it could cause a virus, but it will redirect you, and that's okay. So once you're in our website and then you you click on Flywire, it will redirect you to their website and it'll open that new window. And then you can actually log in, or you can, if you've never been on there before, then you would actually set up a new username and log in that way. You're going to enter your payment details, and then there's instructions on how to do that, how to transfer the to complete the transfer. And then once you've done that, sometimes what our students would like to do, especially if they've done it, you know, maybe just a few days, maybe a week before the payment deadline or a few days before the payment deadline, we ask that you give it at least 7 days, because it does take a little bit of time. Even though it's electronic, it still does take some time for it to actually get to us and process into our system. So once you do that, sometimes if you're doing it late, we like for the student to send us an email and just give us an update that they've done that, and that way we can watch for it for you. And then again, if it's close to our payment deadline, we can't always guarantee that we'll hold you, but if we can kind of see it out there, then there may be something that we could do for you. And again, try to make sure, again, if you're on that payment deadline for the August 19th, that you try to get that done before that date. And then if you're on the financial aid deadline, just make sure everything's done by September the 2nd. We can go to the next slide. So we do have 2 payment options. I did mention the installment plan. That one can be set up on Easy Pay. Now, the installment plan will take all of your tuition fees, meal plan, any kind of charges that's on your account, the student insurance. It will take any charges that are on your account, and it will take that and it will divide it into 4 payments. There is a $25 setup fee, but this is really good for students who maybe only were able to get a portion of it covered by financial aid or by the payment deadline. Maybe you were only able to secure funding for, maybe half of it or 25% of it. This one's a good one because it only charges you a $25 fee to set up, and then any payments that have been made would count towards your first payment. So if you have half of your tuition paid when you set it up, or you have some kind of financial aid, it would actually go toward your first installment, possibly your second installment, and then it would push some of those payments out to later dates. So just to give you an easy example, let's say you owed $10,000. And what it's going to do is it's going to take that and it's going to divide it into 4. So $2,500 would be each payment. So the first payment would be due at the time you enroll. But let's say you already had made a payment. Let's say financial aid had paid a $1,000 scholarship, and maybe you had made a personal payment of, let's just go ahead and say the other $1,500 for the first, 25%. Well, then you wouldn't actually have to pay anything at that point, because it's going to take that first 25%, and any payments you made, it's going to count that toward that payment, which is really good because sometimes people think it's only going to take what's remaining on their account. So if they, have paid $5,000 and their balance is $10,000, then they think that, oh, it's only going to take the $5,000 and divide that into 4 payments, and I'm going to have to pay 25% right now. But it's not. It's going to take everything that's on your account, excluding payments, and it's going to divide it into 4 and then start crediting the payments, if that makes any sense. And then we also have what's called the short-term loan. The short-term loan only covers tuition and course-related fees. It does not cover student insurance. It doesn't cover housing. It doesn't cover meal plans. And basically what's going to happen with the short-term loan is it's going to extend your payment deadline about 60 days past census date. So for this coming fall semester, the deadline for the short-term loan, the due date is October the 20th. So what's going to happen is when you go set up the short-term loan in your Orion Student Service Center, it's going to not ask you for any payment at that time. It's going to automatically take all of your tuition and fees and extend that deadline out to one lump sum on October the 20th, or whatever, in the future, if it's spring or whatever term, whatever the deadline is for those terms, it's going to push it out 60 days. Again, no down payments required. It is a little bit more expensive to take out. It's 1.25% of your total tuition and fees. And again, that one's completed in Orion. You can make payments anytime up to that date, but you don't have to. as far as the student insurance or any kind of other charges such as housing or meal plan, that would still be due by the deadline, the payment deadline. So the only thing it's going to do is it's going to just push out your tuition and fees only. And then that would be due at a later date, where everything else that's on there other than tuition and fees would be due by the by the regular payment deadline or the financial aid payment deadline, whichever one you fall into. And there are late fees that could apply to either of these if it's not paid by the deadline. So we can move forward, please. So I did mention this earlier about dropping or withdrawing from a course. So there is a difference between dropping a course and withdrawing from a course or withdrawing. Dropping a course basically means that you are enrolled for that semester and you're still enrolled. You're just dropping a course or two courses and you're still in at least one class for that term. Okay, so for example, if you're coming in the fall semester and you enroll in 9 credit hours and you go down to, and you're still going to be in 6 credit hours and you get rid of 3 credit hours, that's dropping a course. Okay, withdrawing from a course or withdrawing means that you are no longer enrolled for that semester at all. Even if you plan on coming back to the university, maybe the next semester or in a future semester, but you are in no courses for that term. You're in 9 hours and you drop all 9 hours, you're no longer enrolled in any courses for that term. So when that would be considered a complete withdrawal. So there are financial impacts if you drop or withdraw from a course. There could be. Because we're a state agency, we do have to follow a specific refund policy when it comes to dropping and withdrawing from classes. And depending on which one you've done, if you've dropped a course or you've completely withdrawn, the deadline to drop those classes are different. So if you drop a course but you remain in at least one course for that session, you'll receive 100% refund through our census day for whatever term it is. So if it's the full session or the first 8 weeks, second 8 weeks, you'll see here you're actually going to receive a full refund for that dropped class. And when I say refund, I also mean like a credit to your account. So if you haven't paid for that class, we're obviously not going to give you any money back for that class. We're just going to give you a credit on your account. So it's important to understand that if you're going to remain enrolled in the session, but you just need to get rid of a class, sometimes people say it's kind of testing that class out, because we will give you 100% refund of that course up through our census day. And you can see for the full term session, that would be September the 8th. But if you are completely withdrawing from all of your classes for that semester, so let's say, something happened and maybe you were enrolled in 9 hours and it's not working out, and you realize that, maybe you weren't able to do those classes, or you had to go home, something happened and you had to get out of those classes. It's very important that you do that withdrawal before the first official day of class. Because if you do it after the first official day of class, then you will owe a percentage of your tuition based on the date that you withdrew. So you can see here that you would get 100% refund or credit through Sunday, August 22nd for the fall semester. So if you know something happened, let's say you're registered, you get registered and then you realize something happened and you're not going to be able to take those classes, make sure you withdraw before the first day of class. Now, sometimes we're not going to be able to know that we're not going to be able to take classes until, we're in the classes. So, we do understand that some students will have to withdraw after the classes start, but please make sure that you look at the payment and refund calendar, look at the schedule for withdrawing from courses, find out what's going to happen, contact our office. If you're on any type of financial aid, find out if something's going to happen to the financial aid if you withdraw. But it's very important just to be informed of what's going to happen if you do have to leave, because we do understand that does happen. But because we're a state institution, we do have to follow a specific schedule for giving refunds or credits back for classes that are dropped. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on.
Lisa, if I
Yes.
may just add one thing, just as a blanket statement, before you choose to drop any courses or any withdraw from any classes, make sure you speak with an international student advisor. So talk to someone in the International Students and Scholars Office, because the Bursar's office staff are not experts on immigration.
Right.
And so if you do have questions about dropping your classes or withdrawing from classes, make sure you do speak with someone in the International Students and Scholars Office to make sure that you are maintaining your immigration status, because as you know, you do have requirements to maintain your immigration status in terms of the amount of credit hours you are supposed to be taking. And so while Lisa is the expert in talking about credit hours and how to get those refunded to you when you're dropping a class or withdrawing from classes, the International Students and Scholars Office are the experts in knowing how to maintain your immigration status. So just make sure that you are working with both offices if that is something that does come up for you. So, and it looks like we lost our presentation. So Flower, are you still there and able to share the presentation? Think that we are having some technical difficulties, but that's okay.
I think some of, I mean, I can go over some of the things I know what's kind of left. So if the slides come back up, then we can, you know, get back on those slides. But
I can share my screen if we need to.
Okay.
Let me.
So so as we were mentioning refunds, again, if you, like I said, there's various reasons why a student may receive a refund. Remember how I mentioned direct deposits, how it would be good for you to set up that direct deposit, because if a student account is paid in excess, or we've given you money back because you've paid all of your tuition and then you end up dropping a class before our census day or something like that, we may owe you money back. So just an example of a credit balance, what you're going to see is it's going to show a negative number. So it's going to be like the example here, negative 550. Or negative, you know, 1,000 or whatever the amount is. It's going to show a negative amount, and that means that we owe you money. That doesn't mean that you owe us money. That means we actually owe you something back. Sometimes those are refunded to you. Sometimes they're not, depending on what it's for. If it, we will wait to make an adjustment to see if your tuition changes or if you had aid that's going to be removed or something like that. But there are times that we will have to refund you. And usually if you see that a negative amount and you've set up a direct deposit, those credits will usually zero out within 2 to 4 days, and we'll begin processing the refunds. Again, refund checks are mailed out. But they do have to be mailed out to a U.S. address only, and those can take approximately 2 weeks. And then students using a Flywire payment. So when I mentioned the international wires, if you're paying through Flywire, we can actually refund you through Flywire. So that's something that is kind of new. So if you do pay through Flywire and you do drop a class or something like that, and we owe you money back, or you end up withdrawing before the first day of class and you've already paid your classes, we can actually refund you through Flywire. So I'll go ahead and go to the next slide since we have those up. So what are some of the questions? I know all of you out there are thinking, I have a question, and here's my question. So I know you have a lot of questions for me, but here's some frequently asked questions that I'm just going to go over really quickly. How do I choose my tuition plan? I'm just going to remind you of that because I went over that way at the beginning of the presentation. So again, you'll receive a service indicator on your account and a to-do list item. Also, you will receive an email from our office telling you that it's time for you to select a tuition plan. Again, if you don't want to choose, you don't have to choose, and we'll just automatically put you in a plan, and that would be the variable plan. Can you tell me how much I would owe before I register? No, we cannot tell you how much you're going to owe before you register. If you're not registered, you would have to do the tuition estimate. If you're an accepted student to the university, you can log into your Orion, you can do it there. We do still, even though we have the tuition estimates available, we get a lot of students email us saying, can you please give me an estimate? I'm coming in the fall, here's how many hours I'm going to be in. And you have to do that on the tuition estimate. We can provide you with a fee statement. if you need that once those are processed. Can I pay my tuition in cash? The answer to that question is no. You cannot pay your tuition in cash. Not only because our offices are not open currently, but even when our offices are open, we will not be accepting payments for tuition in cash. It's very dangerous for students to carry around a lot of cash anyways, so we don't encourage students to go get all of their tuition money and bring it to us in cash. And then it can take your time because it has to sit there and be counted at the window and things like that. So no, we do not accept cash for tuition payments. My demand draft or wire transfer is more than my tuition charges. Will I be refunded? Yes, you will. So if you give us a demand draft and it's more than what you actually owe, we will wait about 2 to 3 weeks and make sure that that demand draft is all good and everything happens. Same with the wire transfer, and we will refund you any excess funds for that. Do I pay for my classes before my scholarship is posted? We do not suggest that you pay before your scholarship is posted because your tuition will probably, if you have that $1,000 scholarship and we have not given you the waiver for the in-state rate, then you may be paying more than you need to. So it's very important to wait as long as possible. Again, if your scholarship has not posted by close to the deadline, within a couple days before the deadline, check on it, check with us, check with financial aid. We need to find out if you need to go ahead and maybe do an installment or set up a short-term loan. And then that would extend your deadline out and give it a little bit more time. But don't pay, especially if you know that it's going to be going down. When is my tuition payment deadline? I did give you those. August 12th if you're not receiving financial aid, and then September 2nd if you are. Why do I have a hold on my account? There's various reasons why a student may have a hold. We call it a hold. It's also known as a service indicator. So you'll hear us use those terms synonymous with each other. So there could be various reasons. Maybe you need to complete a tuition plan. Maybe you have a balance that's outstanding, or maybe you did prepay and we have a prepayment hold on your account. So there's various reasons that not all holds on your account mean it's a bad thing. Sometimes people get scared because they think, oh, I have a hold on my account, I can't register, or I have a hold on my account, they won't let me do this or get my transcript. And it doesn't mean it's always bad. And then how do I get my insurance waived? If you do have other insurance, you would need to contact the health insurance, the student health services, and provide that information to them, because we cannot waive your student insurance. If you're being charged student insurance, we cannot remove that. And then also, can I drop a class after that class has started? It's important to review the payment and refund calendar, which we kind of went over just a few minutes ago. But those are a lot of questions that we do get asked, and I know y'all have a lot of questions, and I will take as much time as we need to, as long as everyone's available to do that. I know I did go over a lot of stuff in this hour and didn't give a whole lot of time for questions. So Katie, did you want to go ahead and start that process for us?
Well, I did open up the chat. So it looks like we have a few questions filtering in. Okay. So if you want to take a look, Lisa, you can look at the Q&A. Okay. So it looks like some people are asking questions. I think you had mentioned the, I guess, Flower, if you want to go back one slide.
You know what? Let me go ahead and answer this question about the August 12th or August 19th. Yeah. August 12th. Yes, August 12th is actually the deadline to select your tuition plan.
Okay. So that's August the tuition. So that's
the tuition choice. And August 19th is actually the payment deadline. So if you haven't made a choice, you'll still get a statement, but we're giving you through the 12th of August to make your decision on the payment on the tuition plan, but your payment deadline would actually be August 19th or September the 2nd. So I know those dates are very close, so it's a little confusing, but yes, the payment deadline's the 19th of August, and September 2nd is the financial aid payment deadline, and August 12th is the last day to choose your tuition plan.
Okay. That's perfect. And Tamara's going to help us with questions in the chat. Okay. As well. So as you can see, Tamara's gotten on camera, and I know you had another slide, the next slide, you were going to go over some action items for students, and then maybe questions afterwards.
Yes. So here are some action items. Again, choose your tuition plan. August 12th by August 12th. Update your address as soon as possible. Become familiar with the academic and payment and refund calendar, which I've talked a lot about. Establish a U.S. bank account if you can do that as soon as possible. That would be helpful for you while you're here. Set up a refund profile. Again, if we owe you money, that would be the direct deposit information. Once you set up that U.S. bank account. Check your Easy Pay account to ensure scholarships are posted by the payment deadlines. Check your UT Dallas email often, and then also allow 7 business days or 7 days for your Flywire payments to be received. And I know I've mentioned a lot of those, but I like to go back over them at the end because those are some important action items to help you navigate through things smoothly in our office.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, Lisa, can you hear me okay?
I can. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry
Well,
for starting the questions early. But
Yes, no worries. So yes, I'm going to kind of jump in and try to manage the Q&A section that we have right now. Before we get into that, I just would like to make 2 announcements. The first one is that the chat is currently open. I have posted some helpful links that are in the chat. So if you do have a question about this particular topic or other topics in general that you might have as a new student, please try to scroll up to the very top of the chat and check those links out. This is in case we're unable to answer your question. You can access those links. So that is the first thing. And the second thing is that because this meeting, once again, we did mention it at the beginning, is being recorded, this recording will be made available so that you can rewatch this. And the link for the website for where you can rewatch this meeting is posted in the helpful links that I posted in the chat. Just please allow up to about 48 business hours or 2 business days for us to upload this video, and you can rewatch it and get to any questions that you have. But I did have a question that I would like to get to. It was posted by Yash Gupta, and the question was about to clarify what Flywire is. So Flywire is just a payment method for wire transfer. I think that's the shortest answer, but I don't know if you want to add something to that, Lisa.
Flywire is our servicer that we use to make the international payments. So we use a third-party servicer, so they're kind of like the middleman. So they're going to get the money, and then they're going to give it to us. So they're just working on our behalf. So they are an entity, a third-party entity that assists UT Dallas in wire transfers.
Right.
I don't know if that clarified. And I will, real quick, just say this: that if you have a question specifically directly related to your personal information, I won't be able to answer any of those. Just mainly general questions. And then also, I just forgot. But go ahead, go ahead with the questions.
Yep. Okay. Yes, and that's a very good point that you made. If you are asking, about your particular and your specific account, of course, we cannot release that information because this is a public meeting. So thank you for clarifying that. We do have some questions. I'm not sure if we'll be able to, I guess another disclaimer, if we'll be able to answer all of them before the meeting ends, but we will get to them in the order that they were sent, and if they're not being too repetitive for things that were already addressed. Okay, so I know you already answered the August 12th or 19th. There was also another question. Someone is asking, the person said, what will happen if my bank makes the payment a little bit late? So, and it says loan in parentheses. So I guess if they took out a bank loan, but the payment just hit their account late.
So on that question, if you're taking out a loan and it's going through our financial aid office, then you would have the extended deadline. but you would need to set up, if the money has not dispersed by the payment deadline, you would have to set up the short-term loan, more than likely. Most of our students who apply for a loan late and the funding is not here by the financial aid deadline, they usually will go ahead and set up the short-term loan, because again, with that one, no payment is required at the time, no down payment, and it extends your deadline 60 days. So it actually gives the lender a little bit of time to get the funding to you. If you do it early enough, sometime, and most of the time it will get here, but we do have students who will go apply for a loan like a week before, and then that's not enough processing time for the banks. I would say a minimum 3 weeks, minimum. And some lenders can take longer, and especially if it's an international student, it may take even a little bit longer. Financial aid would be able to clarify that more, but our deadlines are pretty set. And so if your money's not here and by that September 2nd deadline, there's no wiggle room. So you either have to take out one of our payment plan options, or you may be dropped for non-payment. There is a little bit of wiggle room on our August 19th deadline. So if you contact us and you're trying to work things out, and you know, on a case-by-case basis, we may be able to assist you and say, okay, well, we can maybe possibly, if we know you've done something and we're just waiting on a little piece of it, we may be able to extend you to the September 2nd. But after the September 2nd, after that financial aid deadline each semester, there's really not any wiggle room. We're going to tell you need to set up a payment plan.
Okay, thank you.
That was a good question. Thank you.
If we have...
Oh, I'm sorry. So we're actually at 10:01 a.m. So I'm going to ask either Katie or Leticia to advise as to, because we should be wrapping up now. I know we have more questions, but Katie or Leticia, what is your advisement?
Oh, if Lisa can stay, I don't know about your schedule.
I'm more than happy.
Yeah,
I
think we should
to answer
continue.
questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamara.
Okay, so we have another question. It says some banks like Standard Chartered allow for direct payment to international institutions and universities. Are those allowed?
If they can go through our financial aid office, any private loan will need to come through our financial aid office. We do not give out our routing number and our bank account number. We do not give out our information to banks. So the best option, if it's an international bank that's not going to want to go through our financial aid office, or is not able to go through our financial aid office, then what we're going to do is suggest that student receive the funding directly to them, and then they would process through Flywire. They would send that money through a wire transfer.
Okay, I see.
Because any money transferred internationally to our office would have to come through Flywire. It would have to come through Flywire. But if it's a loan that can go through the financial aid office, because again, I said there are some lenders that will go through our financial aid office. I could not tell you which ones they are. Okay. You would have to check with financial aid.
Okay. All right, we have another question. It says, could you please tell us about how to choose and pay for a meal plan?
So the meal plans are actually handled by the meal plan office. They have their own office. You would pay for it through our office. Most of them you would pay through our office. I know with our offices being closed and things like that, and summer, during the summer, they were actually having direct payments made to them. But with the fall, they will go back onto our bills. So once you select your meal plan with their office, they would send a list of all of the students who are on a meal plan and how much it is, and then that would go on your student account in our office. So you would actually pay it to our office. So you could pay that through Easy Pay, through the installment plan. It would go through our office. So you would be able to see that on the bill.
And just to clarify, the meal plan is referring to students that have on-campus housing, correct? It's not.
Yes, a meal plan is for students who live on campus, or there are students that can buy, even if they live off campus, they can buy a meal plan, but it's not. But they have to be in the area. They're going to have to use our meal services, so our dining hall, our restaurants that we have on campus. Yes, it is for those people.
And I just posted a link to the dining services website. So the meal plans are managed by the dining services office. And so you can find all information about how to select a meal plan and what the prices are and whether or not you are eligible. Well, everyone is eligible to purchase a meal plan if they plan to be on campus a lot, and you can take a look at your budget and decide whether or not that is something that you would like to purchase for yourself. And so that's what Lisa is referring to and Tamara is referring to right now. So take a look at that website.
Dining services.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, we do have another question. It says, I'm eligible to receive a tuition reduction benefit that covers my UTD tuition up to 9 hours credit per long semester. I have already enrolled in 9 credit hours for the fall. Thus, I may be able to waive my tuition. Do I need to choose variable tuition plan or guaranteed tuition plan?
So the tuition plan choice is actually up to you, because even though you have someone paying for it now, if for whatever reason you are actually going to have to pay, we want to make sure that you were the one that had the choice. So we do not ever choose a plan for a student unless they do not actively choose. So all students have the ability to choose a plan, because again, we want you to be the one to choose, because even though you have someone paying now, you may not have someone paying for you in the future, and we want to make sure that you were the one that had that choice.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's another question. Well, I think you have already addressed that. Let's see. Okay, someone is asking, says, I need more clarification on how I can set up a bank account in the United States and make payment of my tuition fee.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't really give them a lot of information on how to do that. They would have to check with the bank.
Yeah, that might be a good question to talk to a cultural student organization. They might be able to give you advice on what are some good bank accounts that work well with our students. And you can ask some of the cultural student organizations like Indian Student Association or the Friendship Association of Chinese Students and Scholars. They might have some recommendations of banks that have worked well with our international students in the past. And they might be able to help refer to some of the banks in the area of UT Dallas. Flower and I and Tamara will be hosting a session as well about living in Dallas, and we can't refer you to a specific bank, but just some generalities about how to set up a bank account. What are some of the documents you might need when setting up a bank account? What are some of the things banks will be asking for? And so be sure to check that session out on the Comet Calendar and our International Student Orientation website coming up in July. And so that will be a helpful session for you to attend.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, we have another question. It says, in the installation plan, so I guess this is like setting up a payment plan, there's a 25, in the installment plan, thank you. There's a $25 setup fee, and they're asking if it's $25 each semester. And I think the answer to that is no, it's just a one-time setup fee. Okay, we have another.
It's a one-time setup fee, but you enroll in it each semester. So yes, it could be each semester. Every semester you enroll in the installment plan, yes, but not for each payment. Okay. So one-time setup fee for each time you enroll in the installment. So yes, you could have it each semester if you enroll in the installment plan.
Okay, so it's set up. So basically, it's a setup fee per installment setup
plan. Yes, so correct.
Okay, I see.
So that would be one time per semester. One time per semester. Yeah, you would be charged at time of setup.
Okay. Okay. We do have another question. It disappeared. This is a question. I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but it says, how is the Prodigy Finance loan funds managed? Can you brief about it?
Honestly, I can give you information about it, but Prodigy is the lender, one of the U.S. lenders that is used by our international students.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
and what will happen is that when you apply for the loan, our financial aid office will be notified that you've applied for the loan. Okay. They'll do what's called a certification, because the lender will request a certification saying that you are registered, how many hours you're in, and that you are attending our university. And then they'll certify that loan back to the Prodigy. And then Prodigy will set a disbursement date sometime in the future for that. So when you apply, it's about it could take up to a month. Sometimes Prodigy has been taking about 6 weeks to actually get the funding to us. But that is considered a financial aid loan. So you would follow the financial aid payment deadline. And so, yes, I cannot speak all about the financial aid side of it and how that processes, but it will go automatically to once the funding gets to the university, then the financial aid office will disperse it to your student account, just like a scholarship. It would be, but it would be a loan. So it comes to our office the same way as other financial aid scholarships. So it does go through the financial aid office. So I do suggest, and they do encourage, they don't want me to talk too much about their information. So I do encourage you to go ahead and contact financial aid if you have questions about a loan through Prodigy or any other private loan lender. Even if it's international, just find out, if it's something that they work with or if it's something that needs to go through Flywire.
Okay, we have another question that someone was asking, how long does it take usually for their scholarship to appear on EasyPay?
So EasyPay is really just the payment portal. It would be your student account. So once it's on your student account, you would be able to see that in EasyPay also, but it would also be on your statement in your Orion Student Service Center. And it really just depends on if the scholarship information has been provided to the financial aid office, and if financial aid office has been able to disperse it. And we use that term disperse, which just means, added to or subtracted from your balance, basically. So they would disperse it to your student account, and then that would reduce your balance. So it really just depends on how quickly they receive your information in the financial aid office. If they receive it soon enough, they start dispersing a few days before the beginning of class. Usually they say around the first day of class is when scholarships will start being dispersed to a student account, but usually it's a couple of days before they'll start dispersing if they have the funding, if they've been given notification that you're receiving it. If they have not, then it may take a little bit longer. So that's when you'll want to make sure that you're paying attention to if that scholarship has been posted by the deadlines.
I see. Okay, thank you. We did have another question. The chat keeps moving, so I have to keep track. Okay, there was a question about when is the most appropriate time to pay your tuition and fee? Should I pay before I arrive to UTD or after?
Well, it depends on when you're going to arrive at UTD. It really is going to be based on, you just really need to pay by the payment deadline. Our payment deadline is very important for every semester. So if you're receiving notifications that your balance is due, look at the due date on the notification that it's sending you. And as long as you pay by that date, then there should be no repercussions or negative impact to you. We will send you notifications to the point of harassment, because we don't want anything to happen to your classes, because if you do get dropped from those classes, sometimes they can be hard to get back into, especially at our census date, at our regular payment deadline, because other students are waiting to get into those classes. So if they see you get dropped out, then there's room for them. So it's really important that you pay attention. So, if you're here, and you can go online and make your payment while you're here, or you can be in your home country and you can pay online. If you have access to the internet, you should be able to pay online. So it's important to just pay attention to make sure it's done by the deadline. And if you're receiving a scholarship or some kind of a waiver, it's good to make sure that's already been applied before you do. But again, payment by the deadline.
Okay, thank you. Yes, a very important reminders there. Okay, there's another question someone is asking. They said if they don't have a scholarship, will their international wire still go through the student aid office?
International wires don't. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, no.
International wires do not go through the financial aid office. International wires will come directly to our office. So if you are just paying your tuition and you are using an international wire, you will go through Flywire, and that will come directly to the bursar. You don't have to wait for any type of, you don't have to wait for it to go to financial aid and then financial aid disperse it to you. We do have to wait that waiting period for the funds to be received from Flywire, which I said is usually about seven business days. But as far as going through the financial aid office and having to see it on financial aid and then post to your account, no, it's considered a payment directly to us.
Okay. Then we have another question. This person says that they have two questions. They said that they are a newly admitted international PhD student. Their tuition is fully funded by the university. Very nice for them. It says if that is the case, what tuition plan should they choose? Should they choose variable or guaranteed?
Again, it really just depends on which one. Usually what I say to students, I kind of said it at the beginning of the presentation, you have to think of how long you plan to attend the university. If you're going to not be at the university for very long, maybe you're only going to be in a 2-year program. Maybe the variable plan is going to be better for you because maybe the rate is going to be a little bit less. Even though you wouldn't be the one paying the tuition, it's still just going to be waived by the department or whatever. But if you, for some reason, you did have to pay, you would want to go with the rate that's best for you. So again, think about how long you're going to be here. You still have a choice. No matter who's paying for your tuition, you still have that choice.
Right. Very true. Okay. And then the second part of the question says, can Forex cards be used to make payments through EasyPay? If yes, does it have MasterCard? Well, it says, can Visa Forex card be used? I think we already talked about that. But
right. So you can use a card. Any card that has a MasterCard, American Express, or Discover logo can be used. So even if it's a travel card or something like that, that can be used, but it does have to have one of those logos on it for it to be used. And no Visa. Visa is not accepted by the university at all, and for tuition payments through EasyPay. I'm not saying nowhere on campus. I'm not saying nowhere on campus accepts Visa, but and through EasyPay, and that's the only place that you can make payments with a credit card is EasyPay. And so EasyPay does not accept Visa, and it has never accepted Visa. So.
Okay.
They want to charge our students a high fee, so you would be paying like a really high fee to use your Visa card, and we wanted to avoid that for you. So.
Right. Yes. Let's keep the costs as low as we can.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's another question. It says, if I'm able to pay, I'm sorry, this is another question. I think you already spoke on that. If someone is not able to join the campus online and they're doing the semester virtually, will the tuition remain the same?
Yes. Tuition is yes. The tuition, it remains the same no matter if you're taking, online or in person or a hybrid. The tuition charges are exactly the same. There are some classes within the School of Management that do have online related fees, and those classes have always had online related fees, and those fees won't change. So if you're taking a class that is normally online anyway, and it's one of the normal classes that are online, those fees, you may see those fees in addition to your regular tuition. So again, as the example, School of Management, they do have classes that are always online, and they've always had a fee associated with them. Those fees will still be charged. But for other classes that are not normally online, but we're doing it because of the change to our society and being able to do more classes online, those classes would not have the fee, the additional web fee, but they would just be the flat rate. So it's actually normally more expensive to take classes online. There usually is a fee in addition to. And there are some additional fees that you may see on your account as well. Supplemental fees. We have, I believe it's 8 schools within the university, and some of those schools do have their own fees related to their classes. So if you take classes within that specific school, you may see what's called a supplemental fee on your account, and that would show up on a separate line from your tuition. So when you're looking at your statement, you'll see your tuition line, and then underneath that you would see any kind of supplemental fees for your program that you're in, if they charge. Not all of the schools charge supplemental fees, but there are some that do charge a per credit hour rate that's specifically related to those classes.
Okay. Well, there was also a little bit of a follow-up to that. They were asking if they also needed to pay, if they were studying virtually, if they still needed to pay fees into student services, and also, yeah, so if, like the fees, student services, and also for insurance.
Yeah, all of our fees for tuition are encompassed in the tuition rate. So it's just a rate. You're not going to see specifically student service fee or, on-campus fee. You're not going to see those fees. You're just going to see a flat tuition rate line, which is based on your tuition plan. And then you're going to see class-related fees. And then, of course, if there are any class-related fees to ones you're enrolled in, and then you would see your housing or your meal plan and your student insurance. I cannot answer the student insurance question. That would be health services. I do believe they still will be charged student insurance, but I'm not 100% on that. So Students Health Services has not told us. If you're taking all classes virtually, I'm not sure if they'll waive that fee for you. You would have to contact their office.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think we are actually going to wrap it up here. There are a lot of questions that we were not able to get to, but I would like to remind everyone that we did post some very helpful links. So if you scroll to the very top of the chat, you can see some links that we posted where you're able to contact the bursar's office and also other offices as well, because some of the questions that you had, for example, about the health center, that's related to the student health center. So we have some general links that, for general questions that people have been asking. And of course, you can always contact the bursar's office with more questions. Lisa, can you share your email with everyone again, please?
Sure. So if you have any questions, you're gonna email bursar, BURSAR, @utdallas.edu.
And I also added that to the chat as well,
Yes,
along with the IC Programs email.
Yes, and you can email us any of your questions, and we will be happy to assist you. I know some of them, are specific to you, and you may, have something special that you need to know. And even if it's a general question, we're more than happy to answer any questions for you regarding tuition and payments and deadlines and things like that.
Great.
Thank you for being so attentive today.
No, thank you, Lisa. You did an awesome job. Your presentation was so comprehensive, and you answered so many questions. And that is why we ask whenever students reach out to us with questions for other departments, we say, hey, contact that department, because there is no way that we could have answered, many of these questions. So thank you so much for being the expert and explaining so well to our students. It was very easy to understand. So we appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, sure. It's our pleasure as always. Well, thank you to everyone for joining us. And once again, just to reiterate, this recording will be made available if you go to our International Student Orientation page on our website. Please allow for time for the video to be processed and uploaded, but you can do a rewatch there and share the link with other people that missed the session, and they might have questions that Lisa addressed in this session. Thank you, everyone, for your patience, and everyone continue to stay safe and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining.